John, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Ben Lamoth. I am a senior solutions architect with BDO Digital. I focus on mostly the Salesforce marketing technology, marketing cloud, account engagement slash Pardot. I'm a Salesforce MVP, part of the Marketing Champions program, and a Golden Hoodie recipient. Um, and yeah, I've been in Salesforce and kind of in the Pardot world for quite a while. Kind of made it my area of focus for my career, both obviously Pardot, but then also the larger Sales Cloud and Marketing Cloud, um, kind of whole cloud ecosystem. And what I'm going to do today is kind of in lieu of slides, because slides can be kind of boring. So I'm just going to kind of talk about the platform. And I know that not everyone on this call is necessarily from the marketing world. Um, so I'm going to try to keep it a bit more broad, I guess, and talk about how if you, let's say, are a developer or an architect or someone who is a specialism in one of the industry clouds, or are kind of just an awesome admin, someone who manages the the Salesforce admin requirements for an organization. Um, Different ways to think about Pardot and um, why you may want to consider becoming more familiar with it, more comfortable with it, become potentially certified. I will also plug my community group. I run as John said, I run the Tampa account engagement community group. Um, Usually have meetings once a month, sometimes twice a month, depending on if there's a lot going on. I will put it in the chat, a link to it in the chat. Um, and feel free to join. It's fully virtual. Um, Chat, there we are. Um, yeah, feel free to join. Also, if you have questions for me, please feel free to put them in the chat, because this is kind of a more informal, I guess, discussion. I should be able to get to them kind of as they come in. So I guess initially, I just want to talk a little bit about what account engagement is. I call it account engagement because that's what it's called now. Everyone I know still calls it Pardot, but for the sake of, I may use them interchangeably. So at its core, account engagement or Pardot is a marketing automation tool that um, sits within Lightning, within Salesforce Lightning. It is an app. It is Lightning app, and as you can see on my screen that I'm sharing, this is what it looks like in a in what it would look like in most orgs. This is a developer org. Um, the reason why companies will often purchase um, account engagement licenses is because more often than not, it's going to be an organization that is B2B in nature or business to business in nature. So they will be selling their products to other businesses, and they have an internal sales team, and um, they are a Salesforce kind of company. They have Sales Cloud. They might have other clouds that they're using, and because account engagement sits within Salesforce, sits on top of Salesforce, um, that is attractive because it's something that is obviously there. You're not dealing with another software, another vendor, another party. You're now dealing with your marketing automation is also happening within your CRM, which is where everything happens. Um, but account engagement is also different. Like if you think of account engagement versus Marketo or Eloqua or HubSpot, it's kind of a controversial take I've found, but I typically will encourage people not to think of account engagement as a apples to apples comparison to HubSpot or Eloqua or Marketo, because ultimately account engagement is marketing automation in service of the sales team. It is not necessarily, in my view, a marketer's tool. Marketers use it. Marketers build the assets. They build the emails, landing pages, and so on. But that is ultimately in service of trying to get either a prospect to become a customer, to have a customer remain a customer, or to get a former customer to become a customer again. So everything that is all of the things that you do within account engagement are ultimately, it's designed to be ultimately a marketing tool in service of the sales team. And that comes with it some limitations. It becomes it's definitely a more rigid platform. It is something that, while you can do a lot of cool things, I know plenty of people who have felt kind of constricted by the platform, because it's not necessarily it's not designed to be able to build as kind of flashy marketing assets as a Marketo or an Eloqua or a HubSpot. You can do a lot more. And I try to kind of bring my clients who have kind of expressed that this is that you have the tools available to you to build assets that are designed to do something for sales. And often what they're wanting to do is to flex marketing muscles, to create the coolest looking landing page, the most cutting edge email, and so on. And my message is always, I get it, I understand it, and you can do some cool stuff, but the email that you're building is ultimately, you have the tools in your tool belt are ultimately to build an email that is going to convert somebody, that is going to get them to click the call to action to go to the landing page or to the specific thing that you want them to do. Because of that, the thinking is that you shouldn't necessarily need all of these kind of more, I don't know, flashy or deeply customizable elements of your email, because it's ultimately meant to do a specific thing. Get people through a funnel, get people to a click call to action, get people to watch the video, to do this, to do that. And so that's why I tend to kind of bristle at the idea of comparing them apples to apples. As you see here in here, it's pretty vanilla. It's literally, you've got your prospects here. You've got everybody, the current state of your database from the last week, today, last month, and you see over here the number of prospects created, number of conversions, opportunities created, and all prospects. So I will talk a little bit about what this means. When it says prospects created, Pardot does not make a distinction between somebody who has discovered your company for the very first time today and somebody who's been a customer for 10 years. In terms of how Pardot sees them as being, they all have the same name. They're all prospects. Salesforce, as you know, will do leads, they'll do contacts, and they'll do person accounts. Pardot can integrate with all three, but the naming convention, the terminology used in Pardot is prospect. So a number of prospects created, whether it's through import, form conversion, API integration, landing page completion, how many were created last month, conversions being, and Pardot has a very specific definition of conversion. Conversion is somebody who previously did not exist in the Pardot database, not Salesforce, in the Pardot database, who then completed a form handler, or a landing page. Those are the three definitions of conversion. So when you're looking at this, it's who converted, because you are thinking about this in terms of who did you convert from an unknown, someone who was just on your website, to somebody who is now a known entity with a name and an email address, who exists in your database, who you have converted into becoming part of your larger marketing database, and potentially more. You can map you can map opportunities into account engagement from Salesforce. If somebody is a contact role on an opportunity and they exist and that contact is also mapped to a prospect, that opportunity and all the fields related to that opportunity then map into Pardot. And you can use those fields and all of the opportunity stages that come along with it to build automations, to build segmentations for lists, and so on. And then you have your total prospects, all prospects. This is your entire database. This is not indicative of people who are only emailable. This is everybody who is both mailable and unmailable. That brings us to another point here that I want to make about how account engagement works and kind of how and a difference that exists. So this is the settings page, and on account engagement, the pricing model for account engagement is largely related to what's called your mailable database. So every account engagement instance up to premium and advanced. So advanced, basically everything up to premium and advanced comes with 10,000 mail prospects. Anything after, so basically what this means is, so if they're a mailable prospect, they are eligible to receive email. They are not opted out. They are not hard bounced. They are eligible to receive email. The moment someone stops being mailable, they opt out, hard bounce, they no longer count against this 10,000 limit. So if you've got 100,000 prospects in your database, but only 8,000 of them are mailable, then you are within your allowable limits for your database. Once you start getting close to 10,000, you start getting notifications and messages saying either clean up your database or buy more contact blocks. And you can buy blocks from Salesforce to increase the limit. So I just wanted to make sure to kind of go over that at a high level. Ultimately, if you are someone who's in a non-marketing role, the benefits that learning Pardot can kind of bring you is you become more functional because it's a popular tool for customers who are often new, like new Salesforce customers, being able to say that, okay, I've gone through and I understand how to use account engagement at a kind of functional level, not necessarily becoming an expert, but being able to say that you can, if your company ends up buying account engagement, say, okay, cool, I feel comfortable administrating the instance. And the ways that, and as an admin, as a Salesforce admin, let's say, you're going to have that closeness, or you are likely going to have some closeness to the sales team. And in a lot of ways, if you're as an admin, if your company acquires Pardot, there's typically going to be two different sides. There's going to be the marketing team and there's going to be the sales team. Those teams are most successful when they have a person in the middle who is able to, who works with both sides and can help explain the rationale behind wanting to do a specific thing or asking for a specific kind of enhancement. It's harder when you don't have somebody who's that person in the middle who's in the sales meetings, but is also present in some capacity for the marketing team. Being an admin who's, while not maybe an expert, but is at least versed in how account engagement works, will give you greater, it will certainly increase your value to the company because you're able to kind of support both teams effectively. I've encountered a lot of people who are admins on Salesforce Core who have a view about Pardot and Marketing Cloud that's just marketing's problem. I'm not worried about that. I don't need to know about it until I'm forced to know about it. And I understand that because Salesforce is a large, complex platform, and there's a lot of things that you have to keep an eye on. So you would be reticent to add another thing that now you have to be keeping an eye on. If you start getting wind, or if you hear that your company is going to get Pardot and you as an admin are going to have some responsibility towards implementing it, because it is an implementation step. Like, you can get it, but then you have to implement the app and permissions and field visibility and so on. You as that person are going to get involved. Like, it's not just a thing that marketing sets up. Years and years and years ago, Pardot was its own standalone thing of pi.pardot.com. Barely touched Salesforce at all. Today, it is on top of Salesforce. It is in Salesforce, and you no longer have that luxury of ignoring it. So your options are to do the bare minimum begrudgingly. Say, okay, fine, whatever. I'll give you your permissions. I'll make the field visible. You can do whatever. Or you can lean in and say, and see that as an opportunity to increase your value to your company and becoming a valued partner between the marketing teams and the sales teams and any other stakeholder that exists. It's Pardot, as it becomes more and more integrated with Salesforce, it's going to become more and more of a Salesforce admin's responsibility to manage the functionality. So there was a question from Swetha. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. So it's asking if I could skim through the sign up of the Pardot as well. When you say skim through the sign up of the Pardot, are you asking for signing up for a dev org, or because I mean, Pardot, obviously you have to buy it, so there's nothing to sign up for. You go through an account executive. But are you asking about how to get a dev org yourself? Because I can give that to you. Yes. Okay. All right. So I put it in the chat, and I will bring this over here. So this is a form that you can use to sign up for a developer org that has Pardot in it. It is, I may have even gone through that to get this org that I was just showing you guys. It is not fully implemented, so you do have to go through the implementation guide, which I will also put in the chat here. There's the implementation guide. Yeah, because it is an org that exists and is there, and the Lightning app is there, but it's not been fully implemented and turned on. So you do have to go through steps to turn all of the pieces on. To turn the Lightning app on, give yourself the correct permissions, and so on. But that is something that you can use to kind of click around in a account engagement org. I don't know if they've added time limits on these, like how long. I think they're typically like a month. I don't know if it's the same for this. Something to note, that even though it is a live Pardot.org, you cannot send emails out of it. The email function is turned off. So it is kind of just a standalone org that you can use to learn how to build automations and how to build lists and so on. But if you follow those two links, it'll get you to the place where you can sign up for it, and then just follow the implementation guide. Yes, I'm guessing, John, that the recording will be available.
Yes, yes, it is available in the YouTube.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So let's go back to this. So within account engagement, you've got your dashboard, which we're looking at here. You've got your prospects. Prospects these are the people who are in your database. You've got the name of the prospect. You've got this little icon here. This tells you whether or not they've been active in the last 24 hours, I think, or 36 hours. Then you've got this little Salesforce cloud. If they have a Salesforce cloud next to their name, it means that this prospect is mapped to a lead or contact in Salesforce. If it does not have this, then it means that it is not mapped to a Salesforce lead or contact. So I'm going to go into this prospect record here. And you'll notice that this is not the same as a leader contact page layout. It is uniquely different. It doesn't really share any characteristics with a leader contact page layout, because it is their marketing, effectively kind of their marketing page, their marketing profile within Pardot. You've got your name, email, and over here you've got, again, that view in CRM. So if I click this, it should open to the contact that is related to the prospect in Pardot. Let's try again. Okay, that didn't work. That's weird. Very strange that it's not showing me the page layout. It's definitely loading. Anyways, this is a bug. But at any rate, when you click into one of these prospects, you see all of this information. So this is their prospect activity. So these are all their activities that they've done that are Pardot. So this is a dev org, so it's just showing me as though they had they filled out a form. Cool. Success. I'm not going to go into scoring and all that stuff. That's like I did a session on scoring. So if you want to check out my my community group, then you can watch that video. But so you have account name here, company, source campaign. If this is I scroll down here, you see CRM contact ID, CRM lead ID, CRM record type. This is a contact. So this this is a prospect that is related to an account. So when I click this, it's going to give me the account record that contact is in. This is their Salesforce account. So this is, you see this example, this is how you can relate. So if there's if you have an account in Salesforce and there are contacts in that account, as long as those contacts are mapped to prospects in Pardot, that account relationship comes into Pardot. It replicates that account relationship. So you're able to have all of these prospects who are contacts in an account in Salesforce, get them to retain that relationship inside of Pardot. And what this allows you to do is you see all these fields here, default fields. I'm able to create a list, a dynamic list, which I will show you now, because this is one of the cooler things. So I can create a list. There are two different kinds of lists. There's a static list and a dynamic list. A dynamic list is something that populates people in a list based on specific criteria. And when they meet the criteria, they're in the list. When they stop meeting the criteria, they're removed from the list automatically. So and what this means for you as Salesforce admins or people who are in Salesforce is you're able to leverage some of these, you're able to leverage certain elements of their CRM relationship. So you see prospect CRM campaign. This is going to be, are they a member of a specific campaign in Salesforce? Are they a member of a specific campaign in Salesforce with a specific campaign member status? Are they a lead or contact, or are they deleted? And account fields. So these are going to be your Salesforce account fields that have been mapped to Pardot. You can use those fields to say. So when I say when I'm looking at account field, what this actually means is if I were to say I want to use a prospect account field that industry is construction. What this is going to do is if I were to use only this criteria, this is going to give me a list of all prospects or contacts, if you're thinking about this in terms of Salesforce, prospects who are in accounts where that account's industry is construction. So it's going to give me the prospect list, which could include 100 different companies, but they're showing me the contacts that are in those accounts that are whose industry is construction. So you could think of it in a lot of ways as being Pardot's version of a Salesforce report. Very basic filters. You can say, okay, show me all, because you can do that. You can say with contacts and accounts, you can say filter on account, all, and then account industry is construction. You can then view all the contacts that are there. And what this allows you to do is, as long as those records are mapped, instead of having to do an export out of Salesforce and import into Pardot, all of this will happen dynamically and programmatically. It'll say, okay, I've already got all these people mapped. I can now build this. Marketing can now build this as a list to do outbound communication, emails, complex automations, and so on, using the data from Salesforce natively into Pardot. This is different from what you'll see with some of the other marketing automation tools. Most of them will do field mapping, but it's an integration that needs to be maintained and managed and mapped and so on. And so this is a little more. This is native. This is you're just grabbing the account. It's all accounts have this. All Pardot accounts have this. The ability to leverage the account opportunity, campaign, lead, contact objects out of the box. One thing to note about that. The fields that, like I said, the objects that you can leverage for using automations and so on, the lead object, the contact object, the account object, the opportunity object. Those are the 4 objects that are considered, I guess, campaign 2. Those are the objects that are considered standard objects. Lead and contact are the only objects where Pardot can write to Salesforce. It can read and write. Account, opportunity cannot. It is read only. Pardot cannot update or amend a field on an account. It cannot amend a field on an opportunity. The other one is campaign. Campaign, you are able to look for someone's campaign association to see if they are a member. You can also add people as members of a campaign. What you cannot do, this is a frustration, this is point of frustration, is you cannot bring in custom campaign fields into Pardot to use them for specific segmentation. That is something that I've heard a lot of complaints about, and it's perfectly valid. I wish it was different, but you can only add people to campaigns as campaign members, but you can't use the fields that are associated to them. If you were to create a bunch of custom campaign fields, Pardot can't read them, can't see them, can't write to them, can't read them, anything like that. So I've been trying to go through this, thinking through from the perspective of someone who is a more standard Salesforce user or administrator. And I've been going through some of the granularity of Pardot account engagement, and because it's hard to just say, oh, you should do this, you should know this because it'd be beneficial. And instead of just saying it, the goal here is I wanted to demonstrate or show you what the integrations really, what the integration actually is, and what it means, and things that you would have to deal with and be familiar with, or at least be able to be conversational with your marketing team about. The other thing I wanted to show you that is important is, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, is how account engagement handles any object that is not a lead, contact, account, opportunity, or campaign. You are able to integrate what are called custom objects. Custom object, even though is basically integrating Pardot with any Salesforce object that is not what I've already mentioned. There are objects that in Salesforce are considered standard objects: the order object, the product object, and so on. Pardot in Salesforce can only read an object if there is a parent-child relationship or a lookup relationship at the account level or at the leader contact level. So an order product, for example, if there's an order product and on the order product page layout, there is not a lookup relationship on that object's layout to a lead or to a contact or to an account, Pardot cannot use it, because everything relates back to one of those three kind of ties. So if there's no relationship between a lead, a contact, or an account directly, Pardot can't do anything with that object. I click here and I see CRM object. These are all of the objects that meet the criteria of a lookup parent-child relationship between a lead, a contact, or an account. So you've got account brand. Let's say I create the custom object. I have my one object limit because this is a dev org. I click this, and these are all of the fields that are in the account brand object. I can select which ones I want to see, which ones I don't want to see, and so on. This is basically how you're able to bring in additional data from Salesforce, other objects. If your company, if your sales team has a custom object that you use to store specific data, and it becomes a requirement that marketing needs to be able to use that to build, more often than not, a dynamic list, to be able to build a kind of a more deeply segmented email list. The requirement is going to be that there's that lead, that there's that lookup parent-child relationship between the either lead, the contact, or the account. And then once you do that, you can then leverage these custom objects and these custom fields as a read-only. You can't write to them, read-only, for the purposes of building an automation or a list. So I'm gonna kind of pivot a little bit, and I'm gonna go. We've talked about a little bit about the platform, and I've kind of tried to kind of explain or demonstrate the benefits, some of the things that are specific to the platform that, as an admin or developer, architect, BA, whatever, things that kind of just to make you help you understand a little bit more how the platforms integrate and relate to each other. I'm going to pivot to, let's say that you've decided that you want to learn more, that you want to that you maybe want to become certified. There are currently 2 certifications that exist for Pardot. One is called the Account Engagement Specialist, and the other is the Account Engagement Consultant. Jesus. I have done some prep courses for both of them, which I will put in the chat as well. But there are, there's the Marketing Cloud Account Engagement Specialist, which is very much geared towards, do you understand how Pardot works? Do you understand? Can you kind of clearly explain the difference between a dynamic list and an automation rule? Can you explain how to do a prospect audit? Do you understand how the integration works? Things like that. It's definitely more core functionality. And then there's the next one, the consultant exam. The consultant exam is a little more complicated because it is largely scenario driven. It assumes that you understand how the platform works. Can you advise on scenarios? This is going to be less for kind of more people who are in Salesforce core. I mean, if you find that you really enjoy account engagement, then sure, absolutely, by all means. But this is going to be probably geared a little bit more towards more traditional people who are in more traditional marketing roles, or people who work for a Salesforce partner, who work with clients. They will typically want this. They will want you to have this, the certification. But if you're someone who's just wanting to be able to say that you're familiar with the platform to a degree that you're able to successfully pass an exam, then specialist is more than sufficient. I will put that in the chat here. But being able to be a resource to your company, and also to be able to, for other companies in the future who you find, if you become a Salesforce admin or developer, or you decide to go in all in on marketing, and you're then able to present yourself as somebody who has experience with account engagement, and you're able to say, I'm certified. The great thing is that while I mentioned at the beginning that Pardot, Marketo, Eloqua are, I think that Pardot kind of stands as being different, and that I still believe that there are some commonalities. If you're able to successfully kind of grasp Pardot, like the functions around what's called demand generation and lead generation and marketing automation, those concepts will kind of carry over in a lot of these other platforms. So if you're, and you'll know, and I've noticed rather, and you'll notice too, that in job descriptions, they will often ask previous experience with Marketo, Eloqua, Pardot, HubSpot. They're looking for somebody who's familiar with what marketing automation is and how it works. Not necessarily that you're an expert in all of those or even one of those, but they want somebody who knows it, who's familiar with it. So learning Pardot and becoming familiar with how it works, what it does and what it doesn't do, will set you up to be successful in other roles, because you're able to say, yes, I have experience with working with a marketing automation tool. As an admin or as a marketing person, you're now able to check that box and say, yes, I am familiar with marketing automation. I have hands-on experience with a marketing automation tool, in this case, Pardot. And that means that you now are conceptually familiar with HubSpot, Eloqua, Marketo, etc. John, there really wasn't a whole lot else I wanted to cover. I just wanted to kind of go in at a high level and talk about the benefits and kind of the direction, some of the opportunities that are available. Is there anything else that I haven't seen any questions come through recently?
There is no other questions.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm. Are you okay to end it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody so much for having me and for joining. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I will put my LinkedIn in the chat. That's usually where I'm the most active. Yeah, thanks again for hanging out.
Thank you for giving time. Thank you for the informative session. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. I'm glad to help. I was able to join. Check me out on the Pardot Geeks blog or on LinkedIn.